What's going on, everybody? Aidan from Birds vs. Boys here, coming to you for the game day reaction show following the Eagles' win over Washington in Week 17. Please like and subscribe. Subscribers have been going up, which is great. In time for this playoff push. I have made peace with the fact that I will not live to see 35 years old as an Eagles fan, but it doesn't matter. They get the win in dramatic fashion. Rodney McLeod seals it at the end with the interception. I felt this way all week, that this is exactly how the game would go. It would be a one-possession game late. They would probably need a touchdown to win it, and we would just need to get that one stop, that one big play to seal it. That's exactly what happened. We talked about it on the show. We knew that the Eagles weren't going to put up 56 on Washington just like the Cowboys did. It's about pride for them. Like that was an embarrassing moment, and they came back, and right away you could tell this was a different team than what you saw on Sunday night down in Dallas when they just got flat out beat to death, and it was a mercy rule situation. You knew they were going to be more crisp. You knew they were going to be more focused. You knew you were going to have like a good fight on your hands. Eagles went down early. Touchdown for Washington on the first drive. They were just scoring and just methodically moving the ball down the field. Too easy. We've had that issue with Jonathan Gannon in the past. But second half is where we really cranked things up, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You saw it early, 3 and outs, pressure on the quarterback, sacks by different guys. Even Jannard Avery got in there. And I thought that's what was the key there in the second half. No points. No second half points. They completely locked Washington down in that second half. It was a total 180 from the first half. We were like, things are too easy. But this has been the calling card for this team. Even before the season started, we thought, hey, I don't know if we'll be talking playoffs. I don't know if we'll be talking Super Bowl this year, but we should figure to have a good advantage at the line of scrimmage, both on the offensive line and defensive line. That's what's unfolding. That's why we are in the position that we are right now, 9-7, and looking to clinch a playoff spot, and might be able to by the time you hear this. We'll see. So again, we'll talk about the defense a little bit more because there's some key guys I want to get into, but let's talk about the offense as well. So they didn't really have as much issues in the first half. Their issue was they couldn't get on the field because our defense couldn't get off of it. They ran the ball not as effectively as you're used to. Miles Sanders is out, but this was just a matter of I think Washington has a good front seven. They were clearly keying in on the run. So it wasn't one of those games where you look at the stats and you're like, oh my God, they have 200 rushing yards and there's still a whole quarter to go, which we've seen like earlier in the season and a few times. Today, it was more on Jalen Hurts and more making plays and more of like guys needing to make catches in big situations, which they did. And I think that's one of the keys to today is just the guys that made plays are the guys who figure to be here long term. Like, I think we had this conversation earlier this season when we thought the season was going nowhere. And you're like, all right, well, we at least need to see growth from people you figure to be in the equation for more than just this year. And that's what you saw. So on offense, Dallas Goedert had 6 receptions for 71 yards, made some big catches in big moments. Devontae Smith, 3 for 54. Again, big catches. The one that sticks out to me, you get the holding call on first down. Not only does it wipe away a first down on the Jordan Howard run, but then you're back 1st and 20. At that point in the game, it was tight. It was close. I believe we were down 16-14. And he makes this big catch for 14 yards and kind of bails you out of that bad position. And sets you up in a 2nd and 6 instead. And they end up getting the first down, going down, getting the field goal. And it's just like key moments, big plays from your guys that you trust the most, especially Jalen Hurts. Like, obviously the MO has been the run game. They key on it. Every single like broadcast you see, there's the graphic that goes up of like how impressive the rushing stats are. But today he had to make plays with his arm in order for this team to succeed, especially because they started from behind. I thought he played a fantastic game because all week, like I said, this figured to be a close, tight game, no blowouts, down to the wire. You're probably going to need a score to win it or hold them and get that one final stop. And in the second half, like you're down 16-7, you're still in this tight game. But you have to, you have to make plays in order to win. And he's just like so good. There's still times where, like with the deep ball, like he overthrows it or he misses a guy. And there's still like issues for him where he's just like not reading the defense the way you would like to, and like not making it through progressions and like seeing the guy he's supposed to target, or just kind of like sailing passes on guys. But composure wise, is there anyone more composed in the league aside from Tom Brady than Jalen Hurts? The perfect example today, well, two of them, if you count the fans falling out of the crowd at FedEx Field and onto Jalen Hurts and him just casually picking everybody up. FedEx Field, the walking liability lawsuit that it is. But the play on 4th and goal where he gets his feet tripped up and he makes this acrobatic pitch, almost like a floater, that you'd see from Sixers point guard Tyrese Maxey, and he kind of floats it to Boston Scott, who scores. The guy just is composed and focused at all times. And it's great to have a quarterback like that where you're like, all right, if we're in a like a situation where we have to go down and we need to score and it's tight, just like in the second half, you just trust the guy. You know, it's like if you were stuck on a sinking ship or stranded on some island, and you're like, who are the people that I would want around? Like Jalen Hurts just feels like that guy, and I feel like the locker room feels like that too. Another guy that I mentioned there, Boston Scott. I think we need to talk about him. We were talking about guys who kind of factor in long term. And I don't know, like if you consider Boston Scott like the long term guy. He's just been a really solid backup for a few years. But it just feels like he makes the most insane, just like almost season saving plays and just comes in and just gives you these spot starts and then has like remarkable days that win you games, like in 2019 against the Giants twice. Last week he came in against the Giants again and scores a touchdown. Today, 2 touchdowns today. It's like every time he gets that opportunity, he just ends up like having a great time, like a great day. And I know he's small, and I know you can't really depend on him for an 18-game season, but this guy just comes alive in December and just like literally saves the Eagles season, and he's done it multiple times. So looking at it, he was only 14 for 47 on the ground, just 3.4 average, but 4 receptions for 39 yards. For his size, he just like bounces off people, fights through, huge carries that set up first downs, huge receptions, and obviously the 2 touchdowns as well. So again, is he one of those quote unquote long-term guys who you factored like to be in the equation? I don't know, but he's just like an easy guy to root for, the small little underdog. And that's kind of how we've always felt in Philly as well. So with Boston Scott, with the offense as a whole, a 5-minute drive in the 4th quarter where we've deemed it something, a term for it. If you are listening with kids, I would turn it off now and fast forward 15 seconds. But when the Eagles got that 4th down stop and got the ball back with 7.5 minutes, that was skull fucking time. That's when they know that you're going to run the ball and you're going to try to wind that clock and get out of there and get the win and just keep that ball, time of possession, keep that clock running. Everyone in the stadium knew it. Everybody watching it knew it. The announcers even said so. Texting with my friends, we all said the same thing. It's skull fucking time. Everybody knew it, and they were still able to do it. Run the ball down their throat. Key 4th and inches QB sneak. Jordan Howard has an 8-yard run, and then get yourself into field goal range for Jake Elliott to knock it down. It took 5 minutes off the clock, and you scored and made it so they had to get a touchdown and had about 2 minutes left to do so. That is exactly what you would like to see from a team potentially going to the playoffs. That's what you have to do. That's what good teams do. Like no flags, no turnovers in that moment. Just winding the clock, mano a mano, helmet on helmet, just getting downfield. And even earlier in that half, a 7-minute drive to start the second half. I thought that set the tone perfectly. And we talked about the end of that drive with the Boston Scott touchdown on the flip from Jalen Hurts. But he made huge throws on that drive, and they just the solid balance there, and then him using his legs as well. It was just fantastic. Like it was just a fantastic tone-setting drive where they come out, have a 7-minute drive for a touchdown to get themselves right back into the game, and then the defense comes out and forces a 3-and-out, gets a sack. It was like, all right, these guys clearly know that there's no screwing around anymore. It's another week of just like having that slow start, but they were focused, locked in. And then you realize they realize the magnitude of this moment now, where you may have been questioning that a little bit in the first half. So that was great to me. And just having those long, consistent drives where you can run, you can pass, Hurts can use his legs, and you just keep that ball. The best defense is having a good offense. It just keeps the ball, and you never see the other team. And it just set the tone perfectly for today. And they just completely dominated that second half. Again, 0 points. We controlled time of possession, had multiple long drives. There was at the beginning of the 4th quarter, we got the ball back in the 3rd quarter, about 2 minutes left, and then had the ball at the beginning of the 4th quarter, and just another long drive that resulted in a field goal to take the lead. And then to seal it, Rodney McLeod, another guy, let's shout it out. Like you are talking about playoffs now. You need guys who are going to make the play, like the ceiling play, like the game-changing play. Rodney McLeod, that was great, getting his hands into the ball. Like, that was fantastic. That is exactly what you want to see from, like, again, we keep talking about like the guys long term, like Rodney McLeod, another guy, been here for a while, leadership role, everything like that, making big plays and big moments. That was what we need now. Maybe earlier in the season, we were like, let's just like show some growth. I said the word growth about 60 times on this podcast, assuming that we'd end up 6-11 and none of this would really matter. And we'd be looking at draft stock, but it's better. Like, it's just better. And now you're focusing on guys like in the playoffs, like, hey, make the big play. So I thought that was fantastic from him, and just like a cool moment. Again, it feels like we've had a few moments where we get that game sealing turnover and then get to celebrate with the fans in an opposing stadium, which is just awesome. You looked at that crowd today. It was probably like 70-30 Eagles fans. There were defense chants when Washington was on offense. Like, it was awesome. And it was loud, and the Eagles fans really showed out today. And like, that was the perfect moment. That was the perfect ending. So now they sit here at 9-7. And again, just like, you have to feel good about who played well in the big moments. We talked about Goddard. We talked about Devontae Smith, Josh Sweat, 2 sacks, and then getting his hands up and getting these deflections. Kevin mentioned it when we played Washington the first time after they had played Dallas. The key, like they had talked about, getting their hands up. He's a smaller guy. Get your hands up if you're not going to get there, and deflect that. And we had 3 or 4 deflections today. Josh Sweat had 2 sacks. He just completely like flipped the script on Washington in the second half, where everything was easy. And then all of a sudden there was a ton of pressure, and it started with Josh Sweat. Avonte Maddox, like, that was a bad pass interference call. Felt like the ball was 6 feet over Terry McLaurin's head. They call it on Avonte Maddox, but then he makes 2 huge plays immediately following that, including the 4th down stop and tackle. And look at that. Dallas Goedert, extension. Josh Sweat, extension. Avonte Maddox, extension. Going to be here for the long term. And then obviously Devontae Smith as well is going to be sticking around as our first round pick. So these are the guys, and maybe Jalen Hurts too. The long-term guys made big plays and big moments. You can be upset that they were down 16-7, but I knew that Washington was going to come out and have a lot of fight today. And they locked down when they needed to. Big moment, big plays from the guys. You wanted to see it and see if they were capable of that. And so far, they've answered the bell in the big moments. You have to be happy with that. So now we kind of sit and wait. The Vikings, by the time you hear this, we might not be waiting anymore, but I've been doing playoff scenarios for a few weeks now, which is hilarious. To be still like have been doing it for the past month. It's still kind of surreal to be talking about that. I think when we first started doing game day reaction shows, we were talking about the Dolphins and just them losing and just hoping they continue to lose so that could help our draft stock, and talking about how many snaps Carson Wentz played. And now it just feels like none of that matters. Like, now you're just focused on the playoffs. So by the time you hear this, they could be in the playoffs. As I record this, the 49ers are playing right now. The Saints are playing right now. And the Vikings will be on the road in Lambeau tonight. You could secure it and steal it in hilarious fashion. Be resting your starters next week while the Cowboys have to play those. Everything is falling in line for this team, and it's a hat off to them, to Coach Sirianni, for just like, again, putting together a solid game plan and just making the right calls in the second half. There were some questionable things in the first half, like the timeout at the end of the half. But again, in the big moment, your coach was good. Your big players were good. Let's just be happy. This is incredible to be talking about the playoffs. I haven't felt that like heart out of your chest moment for a while. Everyone remembers it from the Bears wild card game, and we haven't really had that since that season with those playoffs. And then in December of 2019, having to win those division games, your heart was kind of going like that too. That feeling's great to be back. It'll also kill me, but it's great to feel. And then just like that sigh of relief and sense of relief, like after that panic-induced quarter of football where it's a one-possession game and the playoffs are on the line. Once that's over and that relief, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic feeling right now. Hats off to this team. Hats off to Coach Sirianni. And all right, well, that's it. Easy money today. This was the goal. Just win, baby. And that was it. So we'll be back with the game day reaction show next week. We'll see how we do it next week because the Eagles do play the Cowboys. So Kevin and I may kind of jump together and collab and just do one big show for that one. But we'll see. And again, it'll be great next week to be talking playoffs. One way or another, we will be. So that's it for today. Eagles, big win on the road. 1 possession, up 4. Need a stop. They get it. They win. Over. Wrap. Done. See ya.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That is
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.